Please remember that nothing we say here should be taken as personal advice. The conversation is for entertainment purposes only. If you have questions about your financial situation, please talk to a licensed financial advisor. Welcome to another episode of Future Money, where we talk about the investments of the future
that will make us money.
All right, another week. This time, I think we're gonna dig in, right? Tech earnings.
Well, yes. I think it's a new kind of chapter for us to break down some of the earnings. You know, we're coming on what is this, November 6th, 7th. After really the best week of the year in the markets, right?
Yeah.
And I think it was all driven by lower rates
and better tech.
Great earnings, right?
Yeah.
I think the reality is stock markets over the long term go up because companies make more money, right?
Correct.
And earnings is really their moment of truth, right?
For sure.
And these tech companies here in America really are dominating everything, and these numbers are just insane.
Right. So let's talk about these companies which the market has dubbed the Magnificent Seven, but we are adding Netflix to this, and we are calling them the Elite Eight.
This is an AL original.
Yes, thank you very much. The Elite Eight. I still see the price to buzz ratio that I came up with last year.
So the elite. So who are the Magnificent Seven? Let's talk about that.
All right, we got Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Nvidia, Tesla. Who am I missing?
And Amazon and Nvidia.
I said that. Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Nvidia, Tesla, Meta,
Facebook. Yeah, we don't own Facebook. Yeah, Meta.
So that's probably why we forgot.
Totally.
And we're adding Netflix to round out the Elite Eight.
Yeah. Netflix. I mean, we're in LA, we're in Hollywood, so it's and plus they had a really insane quarter. So
they had a great quarter and a great year so far. Right?
Yeah. So all these companies basically market cap, if you add them all together, and I think I said it last time, it's 30 trillion. It's not. I think it's more like 22, 23 trillion.
Yeah. Fact checking is good on this stuff. So
which is insane, right?
It's still a lot.
Companies. That's more than GDP of Europe.
Yeah, it's a lot because Apple and Microsoft together on their own are $5.5 trillion on their own.
Yeah,
and so these companies are huge, and it becomes ever more impressive that these gigantic companies can continue their dominance. And how do you grow your company so much when the numbers are so big at this point?
The laws of large numbers, right? Like we think of companies, and I'm gonna start with Apple. Let's say, Apple is doing almost 400 billion in revenue.
It's crazy, like more than some countries, like a lot of countries, not some countries.
This is, they have 1 billion devices. They're around the world. They're selling, hundreds of millions a year, new iPhones. Yeah. But also, they started doing services. Apple services
is the driver of their business now, right? Because no offense to all of Apple's commercials, nobody cares that it's titanium. Like, nobody. Could you please stop?
I'm not. Okay, so I have the iPhone 14.
I only have the 13. You know me, I used to buy all the new ones.
So I'm skipping 1 year now because the iPhones are so damn good, right?
Yeah.
But I think the reality is I'm watching Apple TV Plus.
Yeah. Which incidentally they just changed from $6.99 to $9.99.
Yeah.
And we had a segment I think 2 months ago where we talked about streaming services and how much they've all gone up in price every single quarter, every year. And now Apple's making their first. I think it started at $5.99, then it went to $6.99, and now it's $9.99. Yep. So that's a pretty big jump.
Yeah.
That's almost 40%.
Yeah. So Apple is getting like to that state where they're not actually growing revenue anymore, but because they're growing their services revenue, which has much bigger margins, their profits are still growing. Right. So again, amazing execution.
But what Apple is listen, the services business is the driver of the business. That's why Apple became a more valuable company. Right. Traditionally, Apple used to be valued like a hardware company, which is a discount in general. You become a software company and you get a much better valuation.
So the numbers are kind of stark. The the margins on services are 72%.
Yeah.
The margins on the products are 32%.
Yeah.
So
which gives them, I think 45 or 46% was their overall gross margin on the product, which is crazy. On that's gross margins. Obviously, that's not net profit, but that's it. That's an insane number. And that's ultimately what's pushing their business, because frankly, the iPhone market is saturated. Like
there's competition.
There's competition. Not even the competition is like, who doesn't have an iPhone at this point that was going to have an iPhone? You know what I mean? Like we're relying on population growth at this point.
Yeah.
And obviously from a detraction side is the China stuff, right? Is there a lot of people are, don't want to.
Well, the China news were not that good, right?
Right.
Like
they don't want people in China having iPhones, right? 100%. It's this whole, this Cold War happening between the US and China.
Yeah.
So that's bad. So services is the way to go. And the only other way is new product categories, right? So we talked about the Vision Pro a few months back.
I am very excited about the Vision Pro. I cannot tell you how excited I am to see it.
I'm very excited also. The question is when will I be able to see it? In real life. Like I want to like touch it in real life.
Yeah. You're going to have to go to the Apple store, get fitted for it first. So it's and Tim talked a little bit about the way they're going to roll this out. It's not going to be a mass product, right? If you think about it, it's a pro product. It's going to be for professionals, right? But it's going to really get people interested in this XR in a way that we haven't seen.
Yeah, can you explain what XR is to people?
XR is basically a extended reality, which is basically a combination of VR, virtual reality, and mixed reality, right? So just kind of
augmented reality.
Augmented reality. So being able to really kind of interlay all these things on the real world and be able to interact with things in a way that we haven't done before.
Yes. Yeah, it remains to be seen if this, I'm very excited. I know we're both very excited about this product. Obviously, the demographic, the price point is very high end. Yeah. But again, in 2007 when they released an iPhone, nobody on earth thought somebody would spend $800 on a cell phone. Yep. And now we're spending $1,500 on a cell phone. Yeah. And obviously, hopefully there'll be subsidies and things like that. But we'll see if this is truly a new product category that will really, like, this VR, AR, XR, whatever whatever one you use, has sort of been pushing the edge, the Oculus and all this stuff.
I just think the technology wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
And now with this new displays, with the new chips to be able to power all these kind of 3D worlds, I think
it looks great.
Yeah, it looks great.
It looks great. So it remains to be seen if the execution is there and if people actually want it. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah. So Apple, the least overwhelming.
The least whelming? I don't think you could say that. The least whelming.
The most underwhelming. There you go.
Yeah, I mean the one thing that is missing from Apple's earnings calls, which is ever present on all the other companies, is the big.
I know what you're gonna say.
Later, you know what I'm gonna say. AI. and legit, we'll talk about Amazon in a second. I went through their earnings and the word AI was mentioned 49 times on Amazon's
I think
call.
Every CEO right now.
It's just like you're just like, just say AI a bunch of times and your stock will go up. It'll be fine.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think listen, Apple is a lot more. I mean, they spent $30 billion in R&D in last year. So Apple spends a lot of money in research and development. And yes, I think you and I talked about this.
I can't get Siri to do anything I want her to do. I ask Siri to play a song, and me and my son do this in the car. Like we just say, "Hey Siri, play whatever," and like
she's trying to
gets it like gets it like 2/3 of the time. It's just like the amount of money Apple spends in R&D and like why, like my text messaging. Why can my text messaging not understand what I'm trying to say?
And Amazon, meanwhile, literally will order things before even.
Yeah. I like get home. Amazon has come to the point where I basically get home and I'm like, did I order that?
Yeah, it's exactly that. I think there is a privacy thing with Apple, like, cause I think they can't. Obviously, the fact that they don't have a large language model is kind of crazy. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, I don't get that because they have 1 billion users. They have their user database is so large that they don't have a large language model. That predictive typing is not better. Yep. Like it's just crazy.
I think Apple usually in essence takes their time.
Yeah,
before
that's
doing
true.
anything. They're very thoughtful. They're very methodical in the way that they go about things. And obviously, I think we just had the 1 year anniversary of ChatGPT. I think it was released in November 30th.
I don't know. The ChatGPT. No, we can't give AI birthdays now because then we're really in trouble.
It was the release date. It was November of like last 30th. I think last year.
It's the end. It's the end times if we start giving AI birthdays.
It's just a 1 year birthday, and now we have 4.0, dude. So yeah, AI is the kind of the theme, right? Like that is
for sure
missing from Apple's earnings,
and that's why they were one of the ones that kind of lagged in earnings and stuff.
So let's talk about AI with other companies. So talk about Amazon. We start talking about that.
We did talk about Amazon. Amazon had really good numbers. Their sales were good because the economy is much stronger. Obviously, a lot of what Amazon does is low margin business, like selling products and things like that. But the high margin business is really what carried Amazon.
Yep.
And what we've been saying for years now is, cloud, obviously. The interesting part about the cloud sector is AWS is actually significantly slowing down compared to like Azure. Now it's still the big boy in town. It's still like the, has by far the most users and revenue. But it was only up like 12% or something this quarter.
Yep.
However, the profitability of AWS went up significantly.
Yep.
And in addition to that, their advertising business, which is also a really high margin business, also had a really great quarter. So in spite of what generally in previous quarters, if Amazon reported a bad AWS growth number, they generally would have gotten hurt.
Yep.
But because you had the sort of underlying factors of the other stuff, of the profitability, Europe is literally on not Europe, but international is finally on the verge of profitability after like 10 years.
They've been trying
so, but they're finally like right there now. So things are going well. And I think AI is huge for Amazon.
Yep.
And like I said, they mentioned it 49 times.
Yeah.
It's like knowing, that predictive idea of like, okay, you shop for X, you shop for Y, like this is what you need. And then you with businesses in AWS, it's integrated into basically all their services now.
Yeah, I think what happened with AWS is the AI kind of craze has really bring more enterprise to the clusters that Amazon or AWS has to be able to run these large language models. So if someone doesn't want to go and buy a bunch of NVIDIA's chips because they just can't, they can just rent space from AWS and be able to run these models, which would be amazing. And this is kind of how fast they innovate and how fast they can get into ahead of new trends, So
and that means Amazon has to buy NVIDIA chips.
Everyone does, dude. Everyone is buying H100. So
I don't know. I heard that some weird. What was it? Who were they saying? The Chinese company, was it Huawei that they're trying? I'm like, not all these companies are using Huawei chips.
Yeah,
like,
I don't think they have.
No, but we're not using Huawei AI chips.
Not yet. Google
probably had the worst of all the earnings.
Yeah, it felt like Google is playing catch up for the first time.
Yeah, it's interesting. I read Google's earnings and
they were not that bad.
I was not as bearish as everybody else was for some reason. Like, first and foremost, ads were great. Right. Ad sales were much better than expected.
That's the one thing I actually saw this whole season is actually finally advertising is coming back. Like, the economy is not that bad.
It's funny because, again, quarterly earnings are so weird because it really is like whatever the market feels that quarter is the important thing.
Yep.
That's what they're going to focus on. So if it was a year ago and Google said they had better ad spend, in a down market where everyone thought recession was coming, the stock probably would have shot up.
Right.
But in this good market, everyone's like, oh, ad spend was great. Okay, but what else? Oh, well, Google Cloud didn't do as well. It only grew 26% or whatever the number was instead of 27 or 28. So I think that the Google Cloud stuff was the big one, but YouTube numbers were great.
YouTube is crushing it. I think YouTube is really the crown jewel right now.
YouTube Shorts is doing really well. I mean, if you go on your YouTube app now.
On the call, the one thing that Sundar said, which is Google needs to sharpen its focus. Which is really the perception right now is Google is not focused.
So did he elaborate on that? Because, 80% of their money comes from one place, so I don't really know how much more you can
I think, listen, everyone is worried about, is this these LLMs, these generative AI models are going to take money away from advertising, which is their crown jewel.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Am I going to use Google less because I can go to ChatGPT and get answers, and as a result, they can serve me ads?
Sure.
That's the question.
Hey, Google, you have a branding problem with your AI. You have a great service. Most of you might not even know what it's called.
Bard.
Bard.google.com. I use it every day.
It's amazing.
Okay. It's different than ChatGPT. GPT is much better for like content creation.
Yeah.
And Bard is what I call
real time.
I call it the internet summary.
Yep.
That's what I call
That's
Bard.
a great way of thinking about it. Yeah.
And not only can you do that, if you want to check your sources, there's a button right below it that says Google it, and you can go through and click through and check the sources on what it says. So that being said, nobody knows about it.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Again, I think that's the focus problem, right? Like they kind of rushed this product out to the world after ChatGPT. They got caught basically behind the scenes, and they rushed it out. It's a great product, but not a lot of people know about it, and they have.
Yeah.
And if you think about all these, I don't know, generative AI stuff, it's really data kind of problem.
Yeah.
And who has the most software engineers and the best data in the world? It's always Google.
It's definitely Google. I mean, they catalog the internet, so I can't imagine that Google does not benefit from the AI boom.
Yeah.
But they are spending a lot of money. That's one thing they talked on the call. They're spending a lot of money, building this AI. It's not positive to cash flow right now, which is what all these big companies, minus Nvidia, obviously, because they sell it, are dealing with, is the CapEx that comes with this AI revolution.
Yep.
Right? So that's an upfront cost that a lot of these companies are going to have to deal with.
Yeah, that's one thing that we've seen basically across the board is CapEx has gone up. CapEx is basically how much companies spend on buying chips and infrastructure and software and all these things they need to do to really help run their businesses, basically.
Correct. So I think Google is going to be in a good position. I think, as the internet evolves to become more AI, I think, there'll be more stuff where now we'll move eventually. Look, I think one thing is clear from the beginning of communications of all time, whether it was the printing press or stone tablets or the internet's advertising or marketing has always found a way to place itself in there, and there's Google is at the forefront of this. So when the internet was first new,
I mean honestly, like Google search is shit. I mean, you go in, everything is basically is paid ads,
paid for a click.
Like, it used to be at some. Remember when?
That's what I'm saying, right? Yeah. So and now. Even remember when we went to pay for TV and we didn't have to watch ads, and now all the ads are back. I even have I have Hulu, and I pay for the super duper live TV Hulu and all this stuff. And there's all these shows on. I was like, oh great, I'll watch
You can afford the premium model.
I have the premium model, but hang on, this is not my point. My point is that they put all these shows on there, and I'm like, oh great, this is a documentary. I want to watch this, and I watch it, and then 20 minutes in, it's like, oh, there's a commercial for 2 minutes. I'm like, wait, but what? I thought I'm paying for the service that I don't have to watch ads.
Yeah.
But I apparently not.
Well, if you, I don't know, Apple TV Plus. I've been watching Lessons in Chemistry, by the way. Great show.
What's Lessons in Chemistry? I don't even know what that is.
Great show.
That's on Apple
Brie
TV?
Larson, Apple TV Plus.
Okay.
Great show.
She's in Captain Marvel this week.
Yeah, she is. Amazing show. Again, Apple TV Plus made it's empowering to women. Well done. The production quality is fantastic. Great story. About an empowering woman. She's a scientist in the 50s and kind of been stifled and started this TV show. It's great show. Watch it.
Apple is not paying us for this advertisement.
Apple is not paying us. I'm just a big fan of the show.
Yeah, that's great. All right, I like it. Yeah. That might have to go.
Amazon also has a great show called
Which one?
Called Peripherals.
Okay, because I can't find anything on Amazon.
Peripherals, you gotta watch it.
As far as the streamings go, I think of Amazon. Well, no, I would say that Paramount Plus is probably the worst in my opinion, and Amazon is a close second.
This is about VR, AR. It's really well done. Really well done.
Because I tried to watch several different shows on Amazon, and they were all bad.
So I give you 2 recommendations.
Okay, all right, good. Now you heard it here first.
Okay.
And then Temp/Rotten Tomatoes.
And then now. Let's talk about the really the biggest winner, like the perfect earnings was Microsoft.
The perfect earnings was Microsoft.
Yeah.
We can't talk about Nvidia because they haven't reported yet.
Yeah, they report in 2 weeks.
But Nvidia does place itself in the names of all these earnings calls. Yeah. But yeah, Microsoft crushed it.
Dude, everything you wanted. It was like
cloud, AI, all the buzzwords, man. Press the buzzword here.
I mean, but also like it's a big company that is growing at 28, 26, 27%, you know? So
yeah, I mean, honestly, Satya Nadella might be the best CEO. And I say that because I love Jensen Huang. I think he's amazing. Yeah. But Satya Nadella came and took over the second biggest company in the world.
Right.
And just made it just a even bigger juggernaut during his whole time, and his forays into AI, his forays into the cloud.
Yep.
They just bought they just completed their acquisition of Activision. So now they have the market cornered on gaming. Like Microsoft, as far as big companies go, I mean, their portfolio of products is better than anyone else's.
We think of it internally as almost like a fund because you own so many different robust businesses that are growing, and from, as you said, gaming to software to enterprise to cloud, and they all kind of almost, it's a flywheel effect too. They all work together, right? So if you buy the software from them, now they all had the OpenAI transaction, which is worth $90 billion. So now if you want to run AI models, Microsoft's the place to go.
I heard they can only get 100x their investment on OpenAI.
Shit.
Based on the way they scheduled the deal. But an Elon Musk original idea.
Yeah, exactly.
OpenAI.
Exactly.
You know what Elon Musk's job should be? To think up things and let other people handle it.
There is no love lost for Elon around here.
We used to love him once. But no, Microsoft is great. Their Azure business is just absolutely killing it, and it makes the most sense, right? AWS is still the big dog with cloud, but it makes the most sense for people. You have Azure, you have the whole suite of Microsoft products, Office products to integrate with that, Teams, the cloud suite products, and on top of that, you have the AI sort of overlaid on all that.
And it's really amazing how fast they're able to integrate all these things with their current products, right? Like that's execution, right? Like usually you don't see companies that big being able to do this, you know? And that helped accelerate their cloud business as a result. So that's really where the excitement was. But also they're spending a lot of money on CapEx. They're buying a lot of NVIDIA chips.
Just like everybody else. NVIDIA.
Yeah. So Microsoft was definitely a winner here.
Microsoft was great. I think I'm curious to see like what the integration with Activision is going to look like, because it's $2 billion in earnings. It's like $8 billion, accretive earnings. It's $8 billion roughly in revenue that Activision does, which is not a huge needle mover for a company so big, obviously. But I'm curious what this can do, right? With Xbox now and Activision integrated with Microsoft, is there now a premium service? So all of this stuff is about how many services.
They have their streaming service. They have their gaming streaming service.
The Xbox Gold Live, Gold, whatever they call it.
Yeah, I think that's going to help just give more content.
So that's my thing, right? So all we talked about Apple and services, right? All these businesses are all about like how many services can we package together, right? So now I'm paying for the cloud. I'm paying for Azure. I'm paying for the Microsoft Office suite products. I'm paying the Xbox Gold Premium membership. I'm buying a bunch of skins on Call of Duty. You know, like there's these constant streams of revenue coming into this company.
But I think what Microsoft has done is, we talk a lot about movies and box office, blah blah blah. The gaming business is like $300 billion a year.
Yeah, it's way more. It's something like 5 times the size of the entire entertainment industry.
I think the entertainment industry is like $30 billion a year.
It's crazy. It's a crazy amount of money that's ultimately there. And Activision is one of the biggest, if not the biggest. And Activision also owns, those mobile games like King Digital, like Candy Crush, which apparently is still a thing. 10 years later, people are still playing Candy Crush, I guess. So Microsoft's in a great position. What else? Meta? We don't really. We don't love Meta. We don't
love Meta. Let's talk about Tesla first. I think we'll get back to Meta. Tesla was probably the most depressing. I think it's important. Like there is this perception right now that the EV craze or the EV revolution is not working out, that is bullshit. You know?
There's just a lot of competition now.
There's competition, right? And also, I think there is a lot of other companies that are struggling a lot to create these electric vehicles because of supply chain issues, because their inability to make batteries, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of things that they're struggling with. But also, at the end of the day, rates are 7 or 8%.
Yeah,
and
it's much harder to buy a car. Yeah,
it's just much harder to buy a car.
Harder to buy a car, for sure.
So, and it's not like nothing goes in a straight line.
Yeah.
So you're always going to have these kind of ups and downs, you know, and I think that's what's going on. And you heard Elon Musk in the call being very, very negative on the world right now. Right?
Yeah, well, he's been negative on the
I think he spends too much time on social media.
On Twitter or X, whatever you call it. I'm still going to call it Twitter. I don't care.
Yeah, me too.
And I agree. But like, right, it's to me, it's a lack of focus once again.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's a huge emotional drag when I buy a car. And even me, I've had a Tesla since 2015. I'm looking at different cars now.
Yeah.
I'm kind of sick of the same. Like, they basically have the same car.
Yeah,
no, everyone has this. Everyone has a Tesla. You live on the west side of LA.
Oh yeah.
Everybody has a Tesla.
It's the Prius of 2015.
Right? And it's like, and they're nice cars and they're great and all that, but it's like, okay, what else now?
Yeah.
But like,
I think innovation is the cars are innovative, but I think seeing a new car makes a lot of sense.
when they did the refresh of the S and the X, which was what, 2 years ago or something, like they didn't change anything. They change the steering wheel?
Yeah.
Like, that's just ridiculous.
And
now the screen tilts on an S and an X.
So we can talk about that, but ultimately, I think what's the biggest problem for the stock right now is the fact that he keeps changing the prices.
Keeps creating prices, and that was what I was getting at. The emotional toll of like buying a car and going, well, tomorrow it could be a lower price, or the next month it could be a lower price. Like, why would I do that?
Yeah,
knowing that the price of my car could change any other day.
Yeah, that is just not good. And also, it's really tough to basically. I mean, we're not used to like dynamic pricing for cars, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's not Ticketmaster here.
And I think that's problematic for investors.
Right. And you can make the argument that cars depreciate. We know that. But like psychologically, you can't cut the price of a car every month or every other month. Like it's bad for the psyche of the people buying it.
Also makes you question, do they have an inventory issues, like demand issues? There's a lot of things that I think don't exist, but actually there is valid questions now. But this whole, we have 80 million cars a year that we sell globally, and most of those cars are going to become EV cars. And if Tesla is 50% or 60% of that, that's a big, big number.
Yeah, I think the big question mark is: are they going to continue to be the dominant player, or are they going to be like Ford today, where their margins go to 2%?
Yeah, I'm not.
Get these cars.
For me, that's an easy. Tesla will definitely be dominant because they're vertically integrated. They have the best software. They have the best production capabilities.
They do. I agree with that. But a lot of other companies are making EVs, and that will still take
a lot of money.
Sure, but they're still taking share from Tesla, and it's forcing them to price reduce over and over again.
Yep.
So can they continue to maintain a level of profitability? And let's be honest. All the stuff that we were promised by Elon, self-driving, freaking robo-taxis and robots in our houses, that shit is all science fiction, guys. Like, that's maybe 10 years from now we can start talking about that.
He definitely does not under-promise.
No, he over promises and under. Do you remember the Roadster? Remember that car?
I remember.
Do you remember when it was supposed to come out?
Yeah, 2021?
No, the original date. 2016.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Has anyone seen a Roadster ever? No. Cybertruck. So I think the big positive for Tesla in the future is there's a huge demand for EVs over time, and the charging infrastructure is the big one. The question is what is the charging network actually worth?
Oh, dude. So anecdotally. So I have a Model S and I also have my Rivian that I just got 3-4 months ago. And even though I love the Rivian, whenever I'm going on long drives, I'll take the Tesla because the fact that I can basically go into any supercharger and not have to worry about it is amazing, you know. So I think
But does that change now? Like, okay, let's say Rivian is one of the companies that joins like Ford and GM,
and it is one,
right? So
next year that changes.
So that changes the dynamic.
Yeah.
So now it's like,
but also that brings Tesla 3 to 4 billion in revenue a year, extra from other cars.
It would be great, and I think again in 5 years and 10 years, I think this will be a huge driver. Like we look at it as almost like the services business, right? Like for Apple.
Yeah.
So can they continue to build out quote unquote services? Like I'm a little disappointed, frankly, that the Tesla, like the computer quote unquote on wheels that Tesla was supposed to be, is another over promise, under deliver. That
the software is definitely better than
it's good. It's not amazing in any way. Like I would not, like on a 1 to 10 personally, and I've been driving a Tesla for 8 years.
Yeah.
In 2015, when I got a Tesla, the software was a 10 compared to everybody else. Today, it's like a 7.
Yeah, I think there is something to be done there. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Well, there goes our Magnificent 7. No, we still have.
We missed it. Meta.
So Gerber Kawasaki has not owned Meta or Facebook for a long time for various reasons.
For some morality reasons, although, you know, again, we could split hairs here on morality of all these companies.
But we still, you know, we still don't like the business in general. But Zuckerberg has really, really turned things around.
Yeah.
You know, he first of all, he fired 25% of the employees last year.
Yeah, that's tough.
Their head count is down by literally 24%.
Yeah. They're still spending a lot of money.
Yeah. Free cash flow for the quarter was $13 billion.
Yeah.
The advertising business is doing really well. You know, Instagram is crushing it. Apparently, Reels is more addictive than anything. Because people are spending.
And now they have Threads also.
Right, Threads is like the competitor to Twitter. So it's like
they've done a good job. And then, you know, on an innovative side, you know, their Oculus. You know, we saw this. What was that interview with what was it? Where they showed like they made like the digital versions of their faces.
Yeah, it's with Lex Friedman.
Lex Friedman, yeah. And honestly, I was sure that these were the actual people.
Yeah.
And you know, the digital displays of Zuckerberg and Lex's faces looked real.
Yeah.
And so, you know, in the sort of VR, AR world of the future,
the metaverse. Metaverse. You know, it's funny on the earnings call. I think they mentioned AI 50 times because actually Facebook has, or Meta has.
They do have AI stuff for sure.
They have the LLM, which is what's driving a lot of their predictive models within Instagram and so forth. But also, more importantly, they are sorry, my phone there. More importantly, they have the metaverse only twice.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
that's time to buy the metaverse. You know, when they changed their name to Meta, then we're like, So you know, again, they have some good stuff going for them. Also, their AI, their ad business. Yeah, I think they're doing a good job in spite of us not owning them. And again, we mentioned Nvidia, that their earnings still to come.
Yeah, we'll probably do like a full-on episode on Nvidia.
Yeah, my question of Nvidia, and maybe we could do it before and after. My question is, you know, are we peak Nvidia? Are we?
Yeah, you keep saying that.
It's a legit question. Is this the moment where, you know, the biggest profitability of this company?
For me is looking at all the capex spend.
Sure.
For every other company, and seeing that basically every company in the world has to have some kind of AI strategy.
I agree.
You know, and the fact that they have 3 to 5 years basically, you know, ahead of everybody else and so forth. I think the gravy train is not done yet. That's what
I don't disagree with that. However, we know that the sentiment of markets change very quickly, especially with a high growth stock whose basically at this point, entire valuation is mirrored on a chip with 70% margins.
It's not that highly valued anymore.
If you look forward, assuming a 70%, gross net margin on this product.
And
now, if somebody comes in with a 30%, 40% margin or half price chip, you know what happens.
Yeah.
Is that all those forward PE numbers get smashed.
Halved, yeah.
So while I think NVIDIA is an amazing company, in my opinion, one of the best companies on earth, there is this, I have this impending feeling. I've seen this happen to a few companies.
Right.
This impending feeling of, have we reached a point where not of peak earnings, but of peak love and profitability of one company?
Yeah. I mean, when you look at their forward guidance, I don't think Jensen is someone that actually...
No, he doesn't. I don't think 2024 is at risk. I'm talking 2025 and beyond.
Yeah, maybe. I think they report on the 27th.
Yeah,
so
we'll do an update on that.
We'll do an update on that.
Yeah.
But for, we talked about the Magnificent Seven and the, what's your term?
Elite Eight.
Elite Eight.
Yeah.
I think the best actually earnings this quarter was Netflix.
Yeah, Netflix crushed it.
8 million new subs for the quarter.
The two things we talked about at the beginning of this year. The first one was the password sharing.
Yeah,
has been immensely profitable.
Looks like nobody is canceling.
And I found out that multiple people whose names will remain nameless.
Is that your ex-girlfriends?
Apparently multiple exes are still on my Netflix.
That's
just learned this past quarter that they can no longer use.
That's amazing.
So
you gotta get your own subscription.
Yeah, so that's the password sharing. Definitely, was a boon. Yep. And then we talked about the writer strike, right? We had the writer strike stuff a couple weeks ago. And what was our premise on the writer strike?
Yeah, I mean, it needed to end, and it was going to be good for Netflix, and it was great.
Why was it good for Netflix though? What was our whole premise?
They're diversified because they have international production.
Yeah. They need to bring down their content spend.
100%,
they need to bring So this actually, and we knew this was going to happen with all the streamers and Netflix especially.
Yeah,
is that they brought down the cost of their content creation this year. They increased the number of subscribers. So net they are vastly more profitable this quarter.
Yeah, so they grew their revenue because they have more subscribers. Yeah. They reduced their costs because they basically didn't spend less. And as a result, they're going to do what? $6.5 billion in free cash flow.
This is your first class 101 in business. Less expenses
and more growth.
More revenue equals good.
Good. I honestly crushed it. I think Netflix is probably one of the best managed tech companies. If you think about the last 10 years, how many different, they're so adaptable, right? They had to move, they initially were just DVDs, and then they went to streaming, and then they started making original content. So they really are very, very nimble for a company that is so big and so disruptive to an industry.
For sure. I mean, Reed Hastings is amazing. Our worry was that when he went co-CEO, that a lot of times when that happens, that's not a good sign. Yep. But he understands everything. He's super intelligent. He is a winner. And I think Netflix ultimately knows the industry. Netflix has shattered the entertainment industry.
Oh man.
And they're rebuilding it on their own terms. And that's really what this writer's strike was ultimately about.
Yeah.
Is Netflix's terms.
I mean, listen, I think a model that's been around for 100 years plus has changed, right? Yeah. This whole residual model, and effectively, it's going to be two different models: the Netflix model and everyone else. Yeah. And I think everyone else tried to go into the streaming boom, and everyone else just lost hundreds of millions or billions of dollars.
Billions. They all lost billions.
Nobody is making money in streaming.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah. It's like cars. It's like EVs, right?
It's like Tesla
makes it. And for that matter, Apple makes 85% of the profits on smartphones.
Right. That's exactly it.
So there's generally one king or queen of the castle, and that is definitely Netflix now.
That's a really good lesson when you think about investing. Find who are the leaders, man.
Yeah,
and just stick with them.
And what's their moat, right? Yeah. When we talk about all these companies, the moat of these companies are so big. Like Microsoft and Apple are like two of the best examples of companies that have this, not just a moat, but a moat with alligators and like cannons, like
literally.
Yeah, and Netflix is one of those too, because the worry was with all these streamers coming online is that people would just cancel Netflix But it's like, why? There's so much content for the money that you get.
Yeah.
And now they're getting into, they're trying to get into gaming. They're trying to diversify
Live
the
sports.
business, live sports stuff. And so they're doing a great job. And speaking of AI, the big AI word, they use the machine learning and AI a ton in their, content moderation.
The content moderation, predictability, like what do you watch, what gets served to you. I'm sure also content decisions internally, like what to make, what works, And
let's not discount generative AI and the use of creating shows maybe at lower cost now.
Yeah. And also like for example, like fascinating to me, like the story of Suits, which was a shitty show that was made.
It wasn't shitty. I resent that. I watched Suits when it was on Showtime. I never watched it,
so I didn't know.
Yeah. But the resurgence.
Like how he's been resurrected. Like how they figured this out.
Everybody's talking about Suits. I'm like, wasn't this 10 years ago? Like, I feel like I'm having deja vu. But yeah, like the power of Netflix and not just the international power of Netflix.
And also the fact that they were able to raise prices. And this whole thing, they're like, okay, we're in the driver's seat. We're going to raise prices. So again, it's A+ for Netflix.
Yeah. Again, so great overall earnings. The tech earnings were, earnings in general were better than expected. The tech earnings were better than expected.
Yeah.
And that's why we continue to invest in growth. That's why we continue to invest in companies that are innovative.
And hopefully this is kind of, there's a lot of macro events, there's a lot of geopolitical events that really driving the negative sentiment, but ultimately when you invest you have to kind of mute the noise and look at the long-term stuff, and this is why these companies represent 25% or 30% of the S&P because they make all the profits, they are cashed, literally making machines, and they dominate their own industries.
And I think there's something to be said by that. There was an article a couple weeks ago, I think it was in the Wall Street Journal, that says Americans have it better than ever, so why are they so unhappy? Social media. And you know me, I love like data. I'm a big stats data guy, and people joke in the office, or like come to me with a stat, I'd be like, "What's the source? I don't care. Give me the source." But it was very telling about how social media, and to be fair, I'm not a social media is the 100% evil kind of person. We actually had this conversation yesterday.
Right.
There's pros and cons to everything, but the sort of like everything being in our face all the time, all day, every day, the platform that everybody has to say whatever they want. High inflation over the last couple of years. This idea of things being, there was I don't remember, was it CNN? I read this morning, like 70% of America thinks that the economy is in terrible shape or something, and we're like, what are you talking about? It's like close to record low unemployment.
Well, listen, negative headlines.
It's negative headlines.
That's the end of the day.
Right.
This is long. This is a long thing. Yeah. But I think again, as investors, and this is why we want to do these things. We want to kind of put these things in perspective,
correct,
so people can kind of see what's going on here. And
exactly.
And doesn't mean that the macro or interest rates and all that stuff doesn't matter, because it definitely
matters. Yeah.
But regardless, these companies are just crushing it.
Right. So over the long run, earnings, innovation.
Yeah, and I think we'll close out with this, right? Like we're starting the AI thing. It's not a hype. It's really a new cycle.
Yeah.
Think of it as the mobile or the internet itself, right? Yeah. This is going to be a ton more innovation happening as a result.
Yeah, we don't even know. We don't even know what's coming.
We have no idea.
Right.
But we know he's going to buy NVIDIA chips.
For now.
For now. Thank you for this. We'll close out with that.
All right, guys. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.